Hello, and welcome to the Heart of Dentistry podcast. We're looking forward to bringing you the tools that will be so helpful in making your career full of heart and fulfillment. I'm so excited that we get to sit together today. Tell us what we get to look forward to.
Well, we have a special guest. We have Callie Ward with Dash Dental Consulting. And Callie is a member of DO with us, Dental Entrepreneur Women in Dentistry. And she and I were at lunch at a Podfest in Orlando, Florida. And I thought just meeting with her and talking with her that she would be a great guest and would fit right in to our theme and our what we are here with our podcast and what we want to do in dentistry, and that's bring the heart back into it. So, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. And you have years of experience as a consultant, and you have primarily worked in the business arena of it. And so, tell us just a little bit about you and tell us with your consulting the ache that you have found and the topics that maybe will help put the heart back into it.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. When we were at lunch, what was amazing to me was the alignment of our hearts. And I think part of that is due. I think we are really intentional about surrounding ourselves with people who lift others up. And if I think of putting the heart back in dentistry, that's my passion, right? Dash is my grandma name, but it's also so important that we live intentionally in our dash. So we're born and we die, and it's what are we doing with the middle? And so my passion really is helping my dentists and their team feel at the end of the day fulfilled, like their cup has been filled, not drained. And how we do that is intentional conversations, intentional goal setting, identifying where we're killing it, where we're already doing so many great things, and then what could we do just a little bit differently to see a different result. And that's really my passion is helping the team feel fulfilled and that it's repeatable at the end of the day.
I like that. I like that. So we were discussing that one of the pains that are going on, and Brandy's a coach, I'm a coach, and we're hygiene oriented or clinical oriented for for lack of a better term, but you deal with a lot of the pains with the front office. So talk to us a little bit about what the business team and the practice owners are going through that you are finding in your with your teams.
Right. I think we all know that our world changed post COVID. And when we think of how do we help our team feel fulfilled, how do we help take great care of our patients? And I think it comes down to some intentional conversations of what are our goals? Are we all on the same page reaching towards that? If what does success mean to the practice? And what does success mean to the team members? And I think going through communication exercises and helping the back see the front and that we're both integral, right? And having some really clear communication handoffs to set up success between the front and the back. And it bottom line comes down to our patients. And I really want to know that we're connecting to our team members as human beings first, and we're connecting to our patients as a human being before we go to dentistry. So that's what we need to solve, right? Is the patient's dental problems, but there's a whole person behind the mouth. And how do we quickly connect to them in a way that is genuine and sincere and authentic? And we're really good as an industry at asking questions to the patient, but we're not really good at sharing who we are and what those connections are with the patient. And that's where I think society as a whole, we need to be more intentional with connecting to human beings for the sake of being human beings before we solve any other problems, right? It feels really good to have those connections.
Yeah. So we know what the outcome of having those connections and those conversations with the team can lead to. But what's the obvious things that causes when we don't have those check-ins and we don't have those communication moments with our team as a whole to make sure we are still all in alignment? Because sometimes we start in alignment and we don't, somehow it gets bumpy or rocky along the way. But talk to us to some of the pain points in what you would suggest as a consultant that if a team was going through some of these bumpy, rocky moments, what they could do to turn that bus around.
Right. I it's so funny, right? When we're being brought in, there's a problem that we need to solve. So a lot of times we as consultants are pointing out the negativity, the things that they're lacking, where they're messing up, where all of these things, and those all are negative aspects. And we need cortisol. Cortisol is what comes off of all of that negativity. And we need to counter that, right? And if we think of the neuroscience behind it, the positivity lasts like a fraction of a second and the cortisol lasts like 10 minutes. So when we think of building these relationships and connecting to the human being, that helps that positivity. But if we go to something that I hope every office does every day, and that is a morning huddle. And I like to have different leaders lead the morning huddle so it's not monotonous. We don't do it the exact same way. Like I want a little bit of a change up to to percolate us, right? Like it's a pattern interrupt. But I want to look at yesterday and I want to celebrate where did we do our jobs? Who can we shout out for doing a great job? Because we tend to only highlight people when they've messed up as opposed to celebrating the people who did the good job. And the acknowledgement for doing our job and hearing a team member celebrate you makes you feel so good. Like that positivity spreads. So I want to look at yesterday. Who can we celebrate? What was great? What systems did we do that worked? Where can we highlight the things that feel good? And then when we look at any challenges, so where were our opportunities, we look at them as if they're an opportunity, not a negative. So I don't want to call out somebody for messing up. I want to go, gosh, did we run late yesterday? Was there a scheduling error? Did we not collect money? Like what was it? What was the opportunity and how can we solve that? And if it's a big problem, to know that we've got a training list right here that we can put that on that parking lot of the training list and that at our next meeting we can unpack that because we need to stay on track for today. So starting in positivity, sharing that. A lot of times we were talking about back to front. A lot of times the clinical team isn't really aware of what the front office does or vice versa. And doctors especially. And like they don't have as tight of a relationship because they don't work as directly closely with the front team. And I encourage my doctors, start with 4 quarters in your right hand pocket in the morning. And by the end of the day, those 4 quarters can be moved to your left pocket as you, as the leader, share a celebration for a team member who did something great. So, I really appreciated the way that that room was set up. Boom, I can move that to my left hand pocket. And when the team hears that from leadership, it hits differently, right? So it isn't easy to do these things. They sound simple, but to share celebrations for some people is not a comfortable space. So when we start to do it as a team and we share different leadership with the huddle, we're all kind of put in that hot seat of starting that positivity, and it really makes a difference.
I couldn't agree more. And I think you've touched on something really powerful, and that is that the different moving parts of the team feel like they're on their own island rather than being integrated together. So, what would you say to me as a clinical hygienist is something I could do to be more connected to what's happening up front?
An interesting question. You know, I think if we all put ourselves in the perspective of the patient, we would be able to identify those opportunities. So if you're handing a patient off to the front desk and maybe it's a newer patient, maybe we have a newer team member up front, but you as a hygienist are the most in relationship with the patients of everybody. So if you could share that patient with the person up front with a connection. So gosh, Callie, I wanted to introduce, this is Mrs. Smith. We did X, Y, and Z today, and here's what's next. Gosh, Mrs. Smith, it was so great to spend time with you. Callie's going to take you for the next level. We're going to get you taken care of and get you scheduled. You're in great hands. It's that handing off your trust, your relationship with that patient to the front desk. Now I feel in a safe space, and part of your love and enthusiasm for that patient has transferred just by you saying their name, because maybe I wasn't sure which patient it was, right? That's just taking a little bit of time and repeating the patient handoff. And the other thing that does is you've repeated what's next for that patient, and it's reiterating to the patient what their treatment needs are. And then in my position as the front desk, saying to that patient again, okay, so Mrs. Smith, we're going to get you scheduled for X, Y, and Z. It helps them solidify that they do have treatment needs and that there's a validity to it. And you're saying it and I'm repeating it, and it's the same conversation. So it helps it sink into their psyche of, oh, yeah, I need to have that. Whereas there's sometimes I'd follow up with a patient and say, hey, trying to get you scheduled for your treatment on your upper right. And they're like, I don't have any treatment needs. But because you handed it off and I repeated it, and hopefully the doctor said it to them in the beginning, that's 3 times that they heard it. So now it becomes more of a fact. So I think it's communication.
That's a great recommendation for certain.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest issues that we're having, as we all know, right now in our profession, is the team turnover. Why don't you give us, from a business standpoint, what you have been coaching your teams on? I think all of this kind of leads up to keeping and retaining team members, but just kind of give us some of your food for thought and your actionable items to help take us to another level of how we can keep our team members happy besides the checking in with them, like we've already mentioned. Give us another layer to that, if you will.
So I think it comes down to spending some one-on-one time with our team as leadership to really know what motivates them. So when I come on as a consultant, when I come on as a manager of a practice, I want to spend one-on-one time with each of my team members and figure out what makes them tick. So I love to ask, I give my teams 5 words that I want you to organize in order of importance to you. And those words are respect, challenges, growth, money, and purpose. And when they rank those in order, I know what motivates them. So, money is how we tend to assume everybody is motivated, when in reality, nobody's working because they want to do it and don't want to get paid, right? Like we're all working because we need a livable salary and to make money for our time. But that isn't necessarily what is our number one motivator. So I had a little gal here in Colorado, and purpose was her number one. And she was a dental assistant. And so then I have them identify, what in your workday do you do every day that fills your cup for purpose? And she really was frustrated that we didn't recycle. And I'm like, what do you need to solve that problem? And she's like, I'd like some recycle bins, and I'd like to be allowed to once every 2 weeks, an hour of my time to be set aside to recycle for the office. Great. We made that happen for her. She got those recycle bins. And that little gal, like, she didn't touch the floor on the days that she was recycling. She was in the clouds because it made her feel like she was making an impact in this world by doing the recycling, like she solved a problem. And it didn't take money. It didn't take a huge commitment. I asked her to make sure if she ever wanted to stop doing it, that she would train somebody else so that it would continue. But it was just seeing her as a human being and what she was passionate about and how to make that happen. Some of them would give me, respect is really high on my list. And maybe I notice I've got 6 team members that respect is really high on their list and they weren't feeling respected in that practice. That told me as a consultant, hey, we need to work on this as a team. What does respect look like? Like, help them identify how to fill that cup more by talking together as a team. That exercise, I did it with one of my clients. And she had team members that she'd been working with for 20 years. She never knew that piece of their team members. And just knowing that made her understand them a little bit deeper and was able to fill that cup in certain situations in a very authentic way without it being just, I'm giving you a gift. And so it really is that piece of seeing them where they're at and helping them fill that cup.
I love that. Can you repeat those 5 things in case any of our
Yeah.
doctors that are listeners, you said respect, challenges, money, purpose, and
Growth.
growth.
Yeah.
I love that exercise. That's great. I might steal it.
It's really a fun one to do. And I really think it's important to put it back to the team member of what are things that you can do yourself to help fill that cup, right? It can't just be the office manager giving them back. It's we all have to be self-reliant and we all have to be aware and cognizant of how can we fill that for ourselves. But also then when we have that awareness as leadership, hey, they're very purpose driven. Give them an opportunity to voice what they think they could do that would make them feel better. And sometimes we want to give the really tender patience to that person because that really is their passion, right? It's matching those pieces to some of our patients that really make those connections sound.
Callie, you bring up such a great point about putting yourself in other people's shoes. And I really love when the different team members, like you said, take a chance at huddle, take it one step further and take a chance at lunch and teach the rest of the team what they do. The hygienists share what the conversations are sounding like. The front office can share the struggles and what they go through with the patients to schedule, manage their insurance if they have it, or the financial plan. And so I think that you're tapping into something really beautiful because when you sit in someone else's chair, it really allows you to understand at such a deeper level. And then the purpose, the fulfillment that you're talking about that you leave the day with is incredible because now, rather than being drained from the day, you feel as though you are full and ready for what's next. Is it dinner? Is it a hike? Is it a walk? Is it a phone call with someone you love that whereas before you were maybe hurrying to figure out how to get to bed and zone out and scroll on your phone, there's a little something for things you really love.
Mhm.
You hit on two things that I think are really profound. And one of them is when we're connecting with our patients and when we're having those moments when we're asking our team members to share their perspective, their world. I love to have regular team meetings, of course, and I love to have each team member train the rest of the team on something that they wish that they knew that they do, because we all think I'm the only one who does this in the office, I'm the only one who knows this. So when the hygienist knows how to run a credit card payment to collect for that fluoride, right? That's helping the front desk because maybe they were buried and they couldn't do it. It's alleviating that pressure. So I'd love to have everybody train and take time, 20 minutes. You give them time to prepare. It's not anything overwhelming, but it helps us all feel like we're in somebody else's shoes. And the second point that I want to take that you talked about there is How do we feel when we leave the office? Are we full? What is that ripple? And if you think about, if we take great care of our team members, we're going to take great care of our patients. But then when we go home, we're going to take great care of our family, and our family, that whole ripple is going to go out. Like I'm going to go to a sporting event for my child after work and I'm feeling full. I'm not feeling drained. I'm more likely to spread more positivity so that that ripple effect goes out. And as the practice grows and we're more profitable and we're taking great care of our patients, we're able to take great care of our community. Maybe we're able to donate time and services to our veterans, or a community service day where the team donates their time and we donate dentistry. Like, you just don't know how big that ripple effect can be. But if we're living in scarcity, if we're living in nobody's given to me, so I'm not going to give to you, it just is a black hole that just sucks you into it. And it isn't repeatable. And it doesn't take much to make team members feel seen and heard and acknowledged. And that causes that loyalty. And when we have loyalty, and I love you as a hygienist, and I love my assistants, and I'm going to step in the back and I'm going to break down a room for you and set it up because I can. Like, you trained me how to do that. And now you feel seen and heard because you were feeling rushed. That's where we love and support each other as team members and as human beings.
I love that. I've always felt, I think we have it backwards when we say, what's the most important person in your team? And a lot of times they say it's the patients. And it's just the opposite. I believe that when, as leaders, if we lean into our team members, so you're not in charge, but you take charge of the people that are in your charge, you take care of them, and then the patients will inevitably be happier. It's the same thing within a family. A lot of people say my kids mean they're my first priority, they're my number one priority, where it actually should be your spouse, your partner, because your kids will leave you someday. And if you don't have that strong foundation to set your kids free into the world, then how good is it? And it's the same thing within our teams, is that we lose sight of how important our team members are. Our patients come second, and they will be happy when they leave the practice because our team members are happy. So I love that you brought that up. It's wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
Callie, it's been great having you with us and joining us on the Heart of Dentistry. Um, is there any parting words from you, Brandi?
I think I just want to challenge everyone that's sitting in the room with us on the Spotify or wherever you listen, that if you aren't the dentist or the practice owner, I would challenge you to also try to put yourself in the leader's shoes and
Mhm.
learn about what they do and where the practice is stemming from. So that's my challenge. And if you are the leader, I invite you to invite your team members to link arms with you for, like Callie said, even 20 minutes, and see what it looks like to be in your shoes as well. I think that will really complete our process of uplifting and holding space for one another's experience as a dental professional. So,
You made me think of another thing, and that really is, we need to love on our dentists and our practice owners as well. It is the team, it is that, but they're part of that. And I think that goes, g- share the love at the huddle and send it around for everybody, because we all want to be acknowledged as human beings.
Love it.
thank you everyone for joining us to put the heart back in. Callie, you are a brilliant beacon of light. Thank you for being an example and working so hard to help dental professionals be fulfilled in a way that we just can't help but take great care of our patients. Thank you.
Thank you again, Callie. And we will all see you again. Thank you for listening in to us. And my dear host, Brandi Hooker Evans, thank you so much for what we have going on together today. See y'all.
Have a great day.